sometimes they'll look up at you and you'll see they have these black eyes. And then there are accounts where once they see that, they'll eventually disappear.
It was and remains the most frightening experience of my life.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Dezi, and you're in the place to be if you love all things magical, mystical, and mysterious. But if you are brand new, make sure you hit that notification bell and the subscribe button so you don't miss out when I upload. I upload many times a week, every single week, all about the paranormal and the occult. Today's video, we are getting into that of the black-eyed children and the white-eyed children. There are so many creepy things going on with these cases. Today I'm diving into the origins of black-eyed children. Tomorrow I'll be posting a video on the white-eyed children and their differences. And then on Sunday I'll be posting a video all about the different occurrences that have come up with the black-eyed children and the white-eyed children and these different instances and their cases, and kind of diving into specific stories that people have posted about their experiences. So let's dive into the series. I'm super excited to get started. Black-eyed children are paranormal creatures who have disguised themselves as children. They are posing as children because what's more innocent than a young child asking for help? Who wouldn't want to reach out and help a child in need? Just even thinking about it gives me chills, because most things that are evil in this world pose themselves as an innocent thing. Think of the Annabelle doll. How innocent is a cute little Raggedy Ann doll, and inside it, within it, lies something very dark and evil. So these are creatures that are disguising themselves as innocent children with hopes of being invited into your home. They usually travel in pairs of 2 or 3. They can sometimes be seen alone, but most often they're in pairs of 2. They generally have a overall demeanor of being much more mature and aged than what they should be. They usually speak in a way that is beyond their years. They're very mature, but they are described to be having no personality. They're very monotone. They're usually described with feeling like they have a goal. Like this innocent child is in front of you, but it feels like they have some type of end goal to reach, and they're trying to get to it and persuade you to listen to them and allow them into your home or into your car. They've actually been sighted outside of people's cars as well. Those are the two main things. They'll either come to your home on a quiet, calm evening when you're alone at home and knock on your door. And if you refuse them, they will get angry with you, and they will start insisting and becoming very enraged that you allow them to use your phone or let them come in and have a drink of water. But they insist that they must be invited in first. If you leave them outside the door, they'll continue to knock and knock and knock, and they will not stop. They will persist until you let them in. And then there are accounts where people who have let them in actually let them in. They have this overwhelming fear of dread the entire time, and they're not being able to make eye contact because they won't look at you. They look down. They usually have hoods up and you can't see their eyes, and when you speak to them, they're not giving you eye contact. So that must play in the overwhelming fearful feeling. I mean, when someone doesn't give me eye contact, it freaks me out for sure. But then sometimes they'll look up at you and you'll see they have these black eyes. And then there are accounts where once they see that, they'll eventually disappear. Or there are accounts where you let them in and they go to get a glass of water for them and they're gone. They've disappeared. They can't find them. They search their house. They search their yard. They can't find the children. They've just disappeared into thin air. They're usually seen with outdated clothing, or they're worn and tattered clothing. And the first cases to have been seen with these creatures are in the 1990s. Some people claim that the first report of the black-eyed kids was in the 1980s, but the first actual report can be found from a Google forum post on August 28th, 1997, when Brian Bethel posted about this encounter with two boys that were later referred to as the black-eyed kids. He claimed that when he saw them, it was in 1996.
Absolutely frightening. And to know that you're being almost, I felt like, hunted in a way by these kids.
He was a reputable veteran journalist, so there was no reason to believe that he would make such a story up. Brian Bethel was making his way to his internet service provider, Camelot Communications office, on North 1st Street in Albion, Texas, to pay some bills. He was filling out a check inside of his car outside of a movie theater, intending to drop off the check in the office's drop slot. That is when he noticed two boys, aged 9 to 12, came knocking at his window. The boys were described as one suave, olive-skinned, curly-headed young man and a red-headed, pale-skinned, freckled young man. The boys wore hooded pullovers. The first boy explained that the two of them had come to watch a premiere of Mortal Kombat at the movie theater, but had forgotten their money at their mother's house. They requested a ride from Brian to their mother's house to retrieve their money. It was during this time that Brian began to be consumed with an irrational fear. Why should he be scared of two young boys, simply asking for a ride? The boy tried convincing him with reassurances like, "It wouldn't take long, we're just two little kids." As Brian sat there fearful, he listened as the boy tried to explain his way into his car. The tall boy smiled, which Bethel stated chilled his blood. When Bethel did not respond the way the boys thought he would, they were looking at him with a look of confusion. Bethel remembered looking over at the theater and seeing the movie the boys claimed to be there to see had already started an hour previously, which means the movie had already been in session. The taller boy told Brian that they just needed a ride and that they would be gone before he knew it, while the smaller boy was just eyeing him. Brian noticed that his hand was slowly moving towards the lock on his door, with the intention to unlock his door, and when he realized this, he pulled his hand back, and with that he went to look up to look at the boy to explain his reaction. And at that moment he had first saw the boy's black eyes. There's no iris, no whites of the eyes, and he freaked out, of course, who wouldn't, and he got out of there right away. But as Brian left, he looked back and the boys were gone. Brian had sent emails to some of his closest friends and family, going over the details of his encounter, but he had never planned for any of this to be spread on the internet, and it wasn't like he was planning to go straight home and post on his Google forum about the encounter. He never did right away. He had just emailed a few of his friends and family to tell them about what had happened, and the funny thing with his story is that it never changed, and he always seemed very disturbed. And with that, I do want to add in a little bit of my own experience. So when I was around the ages of 12 or 13, I was home alone watching the house. I'd finished my homework, and I had heard the doorbell go off at my front door. So I was always told never to answer the door, and I was always scared to do so anyways, even with my family around. So I went to the door and I looked through the peek hole, and I could see that there was a child standing there. It was probably a few years younger than me. It was probably around the ages of like 9 to 10, but it was very late. It was around 11 to 12 o'clock at night. My grandparents had gone out on a date, and it was so late. My brother was away at a friend's for a sleepover, and I just remember being terrified. And it could be, yes, I'm scared to be alone at home, but I remember standing there for just like an unheard amount of time, like just staring at the door. And I remember replying to it that I can't open the door and that they should try the neighbor's house, and if they needed help, I could call somebody for them, but that they couldn't use my phone, that they couldn't come in, but I would have to call for them, and they insisted on coming in, and it still gives me goosebumps to this day. And the rest is very hazy, but I just remember feeling very overwhelmed and very full of dread. And an hour had passed, and I had lost a lot of time, and then it was gone. And I went about my evening. I went back to my room and went to bed. But the funny thing, that night, it was the first time I ever felt like I was falling in my sleep. You know that sensation that you get where you catch yourself when you're half awake and it feels like you're falling into your bed or through your bed. And that was the very first time that I've ever felt that, and was the very last time I've ever felt that. And it's just kind of odd to me, and I always correlated the feeling of falling. I just had this deep feeling that I was abducted by aliens, and I was never, as a kid, very into aliens. I am now that I experienced this and so many other things, but that experience and many other things had gotten me into the paranormal and into aliens, and I just had this deep feeling that I was either being attempted to be abducted or I had been. So that was my experience with a black-eyed kid, and it's very terrifying. My question to you guys is, do you believe in black-eyed kids? Have you seen one yourself? Do you know anybody who has seen a black-eyed kid? Comment down below. I would love to know and get a conversation started. Also, this is going to be turning into a series, so I'll be going over all the things about black-eyed kids and white-eyed kids. So today's black-eyed kids. Tomorrow I'll be posting white-eyed kids, so you definitely make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss out. And check out my video tomorrow. Give this video a like if you liked it. It lets me know that you're enjoying my content. And if you like my videos but are not yet subscribed, definitely make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out. And then on Sunday, I'll be posting a video all about the encounters of black-eyed kids and white-eyed kids, and I'll go over some of the stories of them in depth and kind of break them down. That is it for the video, guys, and I love you, and I hope you have an amazing day, and stay witchy.